Hey there guys, and welcome back to the Open Mid Leaguecast episode 10. We're going to talk about everything within the week 9 of the Academy and LCS, but first we're going to get into the patch 10.7. So 10.7, there's not a lot here. A lot of small buffs, a lot of small nerfs, but the new Fiddlesticks is out. And then they also did a pre-made balance and ranked, which I've honestly been seeing before this patch dropped, where like they would match duo with duo, or like try to match it sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I kind of like that a lot, to be honest, because it wasn't really fair if someone if one team had a duo and then the other team didn't,
Mm-hmm.
or like if one team had two, because I've seen it where there's a team that has two duos and a team that has no duos.
Yeah.
And then they just that they just get shit on real quick. That is usually the worst part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I experienced it yesterday where I had the worst duo and the enemy team duo just wrecked my shit, and I was like, that's not fun.
Yeah, I could see how that sucks, right?
Yeah.
But now you should duo, because then you'll get the pod duo.
Fucking D.
You're always gonna be the better duo.
Yeah.
Keck.
Could be like that.
Could be like that. Moving on to some of the changes. I guess the big one to talk about is Nocturne, right? Nocturne. Fiddlesticks, sorry. The Fiddlesticks change.
Yeah.
Rework, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are your initial thoughts on it?
I watched LS play it a little bit. It looks better than the old Fiddlesticks, but I think it's still gonna have like the same problems that Fiddlesticks had before, where like I think his dueling potential is definitely a little better, and his team fighting is probably better too, because his drains like it's an AoE sort of thing, like he can drain multiple things. But I'm not sure if this champion is gonna be like a season 10 champion where he's like straight up broken or what. But I think he's in a better spot than he was before. I will say that.
I think usually the rework champions are a little bit better than the new ones, I have to say. Except for like Akali, because Akali and I think it's specifically Akali and Aurelia, because they added so much stuff in their kits, it made them like super broken, and obviously they've had to remove like so much of it. You remember when Aurelia's ulti didn't let you auto attack?
Yeah.
Literally just decided to give
Disable
her
XD.
disarm. It was called disarm.
Yeah.
And you literally just couldn't auto attack, and I was like, how are you ever supposed to kill her if you can't walk away from her and you get disarmed? But aside from that, like this Fiddlesticks rework, to me, like it keeps a lot of the same abilities, right? So he keep like the same theme of what the abilities do, even though they do it in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that keeps it more balanced, because you don't want to move too far away from the champion originally.
Yeah. It still has like the same identity of like what Fiddlesticks was before, but like, you know, if
Just
you
better.
Yeah, just a lot better. And like, let's say if like someone were to like jump back into League of Legends and be like, who the fuck's that champion? Oh yeah, it's Fiddlesticks. Like Fiddlesticks is still gonna do like the same things. He's gonna look a lot different, but he's gonna do like similar things, I would say.
I think his ulti is a bit better though. Might be more useful. I think the main problem is that when you have Fiddlesticks, you don't have a, because usually in competitive play, junglers are more either you can duel and like, you know, fight a laner or like are really strong early, or you're a tank and, you know, you can engage for your team and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Fiddlesticks isn't really primary engaged like you want. He's more of like just something. He's a flanker, and in jungle you don't often see that. You usually see it in top lane.
Yeah.
Maybe do you know if he can lane?
I'm not sure. I saw LS play at jungle, so I don't know. Maybe he is good in lane. Maybe he has like support or something, but I'm not sure yet because the champion literally just came out, so haven't seen much.
I hope he's not good in support.
Yeah, because that would definitely be interesting. He could be though, because of his new passive and everything like that.
Oh yeah, that's good. I think that's actually really good for support, because you could probably just start sweeper, right?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Actually, you need wards for it to work, don't you?
I'm not too familiar with it. with the rework. If I'm gonna be honest, all I saw was LS play it. So
Yeah, I don't remember. Because, again, I don't play Fiddlesticks. I don't really care.
mhm,
Moving on. Akali. This is one of my favorite champions. Um, and her R cooldown got decreased. And I saw Faker play her today in versus Gen G, which was really crazy because they're like the top two teams right now in LCK. And it was a really good series. And it makes me think that maybe these buffs aren't exactly needed if she can like just get whipped out in pro play. In solo queue, she's definitely a lot worse.
mhm.
This is definitely a big buff to solo queue because you want to fight more often in solo queue. Meanwhile, in competitive, you're not fighting that. You're usually fighting around like timers, like Dragon or like
Items.
Herald or something. Yeah, stuff like that. So it's less important for competitive. That is just 20 seconds shorter.
Yeah, I think it's definitely gonna impact solo queue a lot. People are probably gonna pick up the champion again because there's like no one picking it up after they like gutted her sort of thing. But I think with this CDR cooldown, I think some people are gonna try to pick her up again and see if like she feels better because 20 seconds early is pretty big, I would say.
Yeah, rank one, it's pretty big. And I want to play Akali again. I love playing Akali. Her
Good
early
to
game
hear.
does suck, but she's fun.
The
Uh,
next change here I want to talk about is Galio, his R. So now it grants the passive magic shield to all allies within the area when he casts it at 5 seconds. So that's going to be very interesting. Pretty much everyone gets like an anti-magic shield, pretty much a black shield for like 5 seconds. That's going to be pretty cool to see. But I
wait,
think,
that's gross.
yeah, that's yeah, that's going to be either really, really good or like a placebo buff sort of thing. Because I know like nowadays, like when I like play Galio support, quote unquote, is like very situational. Like you need like the right matchup and like the right champions on your team to get like the right Galio engaged. So like J4 is like a classic one. Like if you have a J4 jungle and like you can just pick Galio and just let him engage and then you press R on top, you're probably gonna get a flash and then you just do it again next fight sort of thing. So now the fact that
Hmm.
everyone gets a magic shield, that's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I agree. I also don't want to see more Galio, so I don't like this change. Whatever. I see enough Galio in solo queue when like I pick a certain champion, like it's always the counter pick, and I just get really annoyed.
Hmm.
Uh, it's just pretty annoying. What I'm glad to see is a Garen nerf. Thank God. This champion was getting really annoying. Like he was just running at you, and there's not much you could do about it because he's so simple.
Hmm.
Like he's like, I run at you, and if I get to you, you will die. And I'm like, all right, this is kind of annoying. Like I just not fun. Uh, you've probably seen him in your solo queue games, just like tearing it up
Yeah,
or some
he
shit.
just flash Qs on the carry, he presses E, and then kills him, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah, this is the second straight patch where they nerf Garen.
Yeah, because he's a terror in solo queue. And like,
Terra and solo queue.
if he's like terror in like the higher elos, like D1 up, it's kind of bad because like at that point the champion's kind of, because like you said,
You should be able to counter it then.
yeah, the champion should be countered, and then also the champion is very simple because of that. So
Hmm.
the fact that it's like carrying games in like higher elo, but it looks like he was outperforming in mid lane according to this patch. So I don't know where the fuck they got that from, but that's very interesting.
Ooh, I was seeing him be really annoying mid. I've seen it a couple. I've seen it. I've so. It is. I've seen it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. I've seen it a few times in my solo queue games mid lane,
Hmm.
and you just can't kill him. Like as a mage, like if you're playing a mage, you're never gonna kill him. If you miss position, he'll kill you because you're squishy. It's really hard to kill Garen because he is like really he's meant for top lane. Like, so it's supposed to be like bruisers fighting or whatever. And when you're just like a wimpy little mage, like for the first 6 levels, you're just not having fun because you can't push him out of lane.
True, true, true.
Because he's melee, you should be able to push him out of lane, but you can't. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just annoying. Um, one I another one I change I like is Kaisa.
Yeah.
Kaisa getting buffs. I think AD carries unfairly get a lot of nerfs. Like every time there's good AD carries, the good AD carries get nerfs more often than the bad AD carries get buffs. And I don't really like that because it makes it so that AD carries just always feel weak, right? Which is
Hmm.
why we start seeing like a Syndra and Cassio and Vlad and shit like this. So I think the buff is good for her late game. Just
Hmm.
makes her better late. Gives you more options. I think it's good. I mean, it's not really late. It's like 13, like level 13, so like 20 minutes maybe. So it's pretty good. It's good mid game spike, right?
Yeah. I feel like someone at Riot was like playing her and was like, man, if I had just one more second, I would have pressed E. And then they're like, I got it. Gonna decrease it.
Yeah, Bounce Tester was like, yo, 2 more seconds. But okay, the crazy thing is the new Kaisa build gives you so much CDR.
Yeah, the newer Kaiser builds are definitely very interesting. And like that's what I've always like sort of disliked about this champion is that like you can just build like whatever and it'll like kind of work. So like yesterday I was seeing like a poke Kaiser, like she would build I think it was Miramana into like Ludens and like Nashers, and I was like, this shit is dumb. Like she's still doing like damage with like her autos and stuff, but like her W is just like 1/3 of the HP from the AD is just fucking gone, and I'm like, that's not fun. So this champion is
Yeah,
just really problematic when it comes to like building her. Anyways, I feel.
well, I mean, they got what they wanted with their goal. You could play her AD or AP, like whatever you feel.
Hmm.
It just so happens like AP is better right now because I think it was. Did they buff Nash? Well, I don't remember if they buffed Nash, but they did buff her W, where if you hit it, like the cooldown is reduced by like a shit ton.
Hmm.
So it just incentivizes you to just build CDR and go AP, because I had a like mage support in one of my games, and she got hit by Kaisa W, and she just get ulti Q'd and then just die,
Yep.
like just two abilities, and I'm just like, that's not really balanced, like.
Yeah.
Or if you get hit by two W's, you're like at 10%. I'm just like, and then she'll ult on you.
Yeah.
So not really that much fun. I think it's mostly because her range is a little far on her W. It's further
Yeah.
than most champions can see.
Hmm.
So that's an annoying part.
Definitely a interesting AD, I will say.
Yeah. For me, there's not really many more changes that I really cared about on the patch. How about you?
uh, yeah, not much else. I mean, they nerfed Talon a little, but it's not that much. The runes, I guess, like conditioning, they nerfed it by instead of activating at 10, they nerfed it to 12. I used to take this like a lot, but like it always felt bad when I would like lose early. I'm like, man, if I had bone plating, maybe this would have been a little better. So I think conditioning is just gonna be like probably like a LCS or like competitive sort of rune, because like most teams don't do stuff until like 10 to 12 minutes sort of thing. So I think that this might be a nerf to that, because I noticed that like Zazel, like when like he would like play Braum, he would just like take conditioning and just like outscale sort of thing, and I'm like, that makes sense, because like bone plating or like revitalize, it's not gonna, or second wind,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like that useful compared to conditioning on Braum. So I'm like, oh, okay.
Like out of laning phase.
Yeah. So, nerfing it to 12 minutes, I guess that's okay. The phase rush for melee champions, I think certain champions might be using it again. I'm not sure which ones, but I know that there's probably going to be people trying it out again, and this might be good again. I don't know.
I'm not sure which melee champs would take it, because usually when you're a melee champ, you either go like, who could go on with it? Xin Zhao.
Or maybe Kha'Zix.
Or really, Kha'Zix?
Hey, man, you like jump in, you get that phase rush proc, you press R,
Man,
you move in
I
this
don't know.
shit
Wouldn't you
ton.
want to electrocute then? Wouldn't you just want to electrocute?
I know that there's like a Kha'Zix top one trick, and like he in like EU, and like he just goes phase rush.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think this might be good
Sounds
for
annoying.
Kha'Zix. Yeah, because like you literally just like run around and like they don't know where the fuck you are. So, yeah, it's definitely above two certain melee champions. So, like you said,
That
Xin Zhao might be one of them.
that annoys me because Xin Zhao's already kind of annoying. So, whatever. Um, I guess next we could talk about Academy. Well, actually, no. First, Star Guardian Urgot or Pajama Guardian Urgot came out. Fucking hog you.
Yeah, bro, the fucking skins. Got him April
Yeah.
Fools.
Yeah. But yeah, Academy this week.
Yes, sir. Academy did happen. There were some scenarios where like tiebreakers could happen, but in the end there were none.
Yeah, mostly. Sorry,
It's all
mostly
good.
because how. Sorry, it's mostly the two games that really impacted the, the standings. Everything kind of lined up for the bottom teams that were 6 and 10 to make the playoffs. Like it lined up because TLA went 0-2. However, the way it shook out, none of them actually got it because two teams went 1-1, and the team that actually went 2-0 didn't have the head to head. Didn't have the head. No, Golden Guardians didn't have the head to head.
That too.
So
Golden
they couldn't. Golden Guardians Academy didn't have the head to head, so there was no tiebreaker. Pretty crazy, honestly.
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting because the first Golden Guardians win against CLG, like they were 100% losing like certain team fights, and then like they got like a couple team fights where like Phil would go in on Leona, and then Wind would press R on MF, and then just die to like fucking hard going in on Olaf, and I'm like, yeah, that sucks because you want to do as much as you can on support, but like when your team is Irelia Vlad, you kind of just have to go in with them, and hopefully your AD doesn't die. But I think Wind just didn't have the sums to like save himself, I think. So Hard was just able to do whatever the hell he wanted. But
yeah,
Set is a season 10 champion, I will say that.
Season 10 champion. We saw a lot of Set this weekend, and some of it was pretty gross.
Oh yeah, when Lorlo, Jesus Christ, that shit was not.
That was hog play, dude.
Not cool.
Not cool. It wasn't balanced. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, IMT were definitely like fuck.
Yeah. Dig did bounce back this week though. They played IMT and TSM. They basically crushed IMT's dream of making playoffs.
Yeah, that game was all in IMT's hands, and then Baron happened, and then they all died, and I was like,
yeah, the reverse Dig Baron throw,
Yep, that's pretty much what happened because they like, let me see the fight again. Like they got like a couple picks, and then like Lorlo just ran in there and just like killed all of them, and I was like, that is not cool. That champion should not be able to do that. But and then other fights would happen where like Lorlo would like TP back in, or like pretty much Lorlo was 1v5ing this game. That's all I can really say, because like without him on set, I think the game was honestly lost.
Yeah, he interestingly went like he didn't go like Bork like a lot of the sets we saw this weekend were doing. But he was really tanky. He went like Deadman's and Stoneplate. So.
Yeah, he pretty much like valued like being a frontliner first over than doing damage, because like I guess he knows my team is going to do damage when they do damage to me, as long as I land the W. So, and when you pop Stoneplate and you hit the middle part of it, it doesn't matter because that is true damage either way. So yeah, Set is definitely a interesting champion. So
yeah, it wasn't really that much fun to play against, I can assume. It did come down to like Cloud Soul at one point, right? So.
Oh yeah, IMT had the dragon lead, but like they were just losing fight after fight after fight for the dragons. Like it was just not fun to watch for them anyways, because like Insanity was like playing well, and then like he got caught out a couple of the fights, and then it was looking a little grim because IMT's team, like they have Rumble, Callista, Pantheon, so like they have to like end like decently soon, like mid game sort of thing, because if it goes late, which it did, they're just not gonna have fun, and it's not going to go well for them. So but Demonte is playing the Kiana, so another signature champion from him. But yeah, the other Dig game where they faced TSM, that game was not good at all for TSM because Dig were rolling them over. But I think it's also partially because of TSM's comp. Like if because Dig have goddamn Ornn Braum, so like they're going to guarantee get a engage. On top of that, they have J4, so like they're going to 100% get the engage. And then TSM's tools is like GP ult, Rakan going back in. Like they don't have good enough tools to like peel back. So like if TSM had the Braum, maybe they would have been able to fight better because it just seemed like every single fight they would just like get run over.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. Like and TSM, they kind of disappointed me a bit. I thought they would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because I thought Evolved was gonna come in and like really show up, and he played well, but he wasn't like smashing like I thought he would be, right?
Yeah, I mean it's
Just
kind
kind
of
of
hard
unfortunate.
to do that in this game in particular because it's against Akali. So
Yeah, and you know, Akali is so much fun, you know,
yeah,
for
true,
the
true, true,
enemy,
true.
for the enemy. You know, that's why I like playing Akali. You know, I
And just
make it so
cause
much
havoc.
fun for my opponent. Yeah, I make it so much fun for my opponent. And it doesn't help that it's Damonte, and it also doesn't help that he's playing Azir.
Hmm.
I don't think he's a very good Azir player. It's just not his style of champion. Obviously, he was a cat player at like what? He was a cat one trick, and obviously he's like branched out from that. But Azir's a really hard champion to play when you're switching styles like that. I would say, like I think Orianna is probably the closest, and he didn't play much Orianna at all this season, so uh, it kind of surprised me
Hmm.
that they did this, and I guess the game doesn't really matter to them, right?
Yeah.
Uh, they wanted to tie for mostly like seeding things,
Hmm.
but it doesn't really matter to be honest when you're talking about like the playoffs, right?
Yeah, because the Academy playoffs format is still like the old format sort of thing, where
Mm-hmm.
like first two seeds get a bye, and then the other teams battle it out. So, um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think TSM's draft was a little troll because as you see in like some of the fights, like Spica and Treats would go in, but like there's no space for their carries to like really put out damage. So
I think it would have been better if they had gotten like I think maybe they should have traded the set and the Ornn. Maybe they were probably scared of
Lorlo
Lorlo playing
again.
playing the set, right?
Hmm.
But when you think about it this way, like they'd have to choose whether they get Ornn or set. And I think
Hmm.
with a team with like Varus Azir, I don't think you're that worried about getting through Ornn. Like that is killable, especially if you have like a front line like Sejuani and Set, right?
Yeah, very true. I would say
And like you said, the support pick it doesn't really match up that well with what they're like. I don't know, but it doesn't seem to me like who is Rakan going on that is
that's like a
kill.
target. Yeah,
Yeah, that's a target. Like Akali's not a target, and
Ezreal's a hard target to hit.
Ezra's a really hard target. So and they drafted it last too.
Yeah, it seems kind of troll. I don't know, cause like when you like last pick support, you kind of have to like decide like what. All right, so if I were to like last pick here, like there's like not a lot of good options. Honestly, like there's like not a lot of them, and I think they even banned out.
They banned Tom Kench.
Yeah, so TSM banned Tom Kench themselves. So maybe they should have not have done that and just like opted in for it, cause like Ole's not like the best Tom Kench player, I would say.
I mean, on TL that was his best champion.
Yeah, because
Uh,
it's goddamn Doublelift, and
yeah, it's
Doublelift's
Doublelift,
like,
right?
all right, you eat me here, you spit me out here, but
But did they really think Dig Academy is gonna first like they like if they're gonna first pick Tom Kench, you better be getting something in return, right? Like
yeah, it
I,
just I
I
don't
feel like
know.
they couldn't play. They either didn't want to or they didn't want to play the power picks. So it kind of left them in a rough spot where they gave over Ornn.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also like they're engaged. Like their strategy doesn't make that much sense when you look at it holistically.
Yeah, because
which sucks.
You know, at the end of the day, in like team fights, like Rakan's not gonna get on Ezreal, and if he does, Ezreal's just gonna E out like pretty fast, unless you get like multiple CC chains on him, which could happen. But I think Varus Rakan, it's a very interesting combo because like with like Varus and Thresh, right? Like with Varus ults, Thresh just pulls them in. Or like Varus Braum, like it's just like a nice like CC chain, and like Braum can protect Varus as he's like autoing and killing whoever. But with Varus Rakan, like you'll do the same thing that like Braum does, but like not as good, and like there's no protection for the Varus when he's like going up to like auto and kill that person, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it also doesn't help that they kind of got fucked in lane. Lolo's TP early like super screwed the TSM bot lane like pretty hard because lost like lost like 3 waves worth of like XP and gold, and when you do that to an ADC, you're just like, oh, I want to give up. Like I'm so far behind. There's no catching up. I'm 20 CS down. You know the whole thing, and that kind of sucks. But as you know, aside from that, basically this game secured Dignitas second. They still got their bye, even though they had an abysmal second half of the split, like so bad.
Yeah,
they had was a 4 or 5 game losing streak in the middle of it. It's really bad
compared to what they were doing at the start. Yeah,
it's not and obviously they lost to Cadian, which I don't think many people can argue is better than Grig. Especially with the main team's performance this past weekend.
Yeah.
But any of the games that happened this week for Academy, is there another one you want to touch on before we start looking at the playoffs?
Not that I can remember. Oh wait, 100 Thieves lost to CLG, so I think that's like a pretty bad sign for them.
I don't know. I mean, they're. To them, maybe.
I know, like the game didn't like matter in the end, sort of thing. It
doesn't matter that much. Like,
y'all lost to CLG.
The difference between. I mean, if they had won this game and the rest of the day played out the same, then they could have gotten like 4th. But at the end of the day, the difference between 4th and 5th is like nothing.
Yeah.
I guess for your pride it matters. Like, oh, I got 4th in Academy or something like this. I mean, they have to play TSM anyway. They would have had to play TSM anyway, like because the seeding wouldn't have changed anything. You still play 5th, right?
Yeah.
It's like so it doesn't really matter. You just come in as the 4th seed instead of the 5th seed. What about this game did you want to talk about specifically though? Or was it just that they lost?
I mean, obviously like 100 Thieves weren't playing all that great. But I just think that going into like playoffs, like I don't know if that looks good for them like at all, sort of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. But I mean, they did and the bad thing apart it is they lost to CLG, and they were playing like a really like standard comp. Like Breezy and Prisma were on Zyrakan. Saligo and Contracts were on Lee and
LeBlanc.
And then Fake God was obviously playing Ornn because they love putting Fake God on Ornn Aatrox all split long. It's funny. It seems like those are like the only 2 champions he can play because I've seen him play so many of those too.
Yeah. I don't know.
But
it just seems like, when you pull out a comp like that and you just lose to, whatever CLG we're pulling out, which, props to them for making it work. Callista said, I think that is a pretty good combo. So, yeah, it just seems a little weird that they're going into playoffs with a loss on CLG.
Yeah, and they ended 4-14.
Yeah.
So losing to a 4-win team is not that good, unfortunately. Looking at the playoffs though,
I'm glad EG made it after their really interesting first 2 weeks, where Spence, Garen, and Kumo were running it down.
Happens. Happens. They bounce back really hard. You know who? And this is two teams that bounce back super hard in the split. I think TL like a little bit more because they were 1-7 going into like the second half, and it was either 1-7 or 1-6. It was one of those two.
Yeah, they were definitely losing most of their games.
Yeah, they were losing a lot. No, it was 1-5. Sorry, they beat CLG in the middle.
True.
Yeah, they were 1-5 when you know, Schernfire got put in the roster, and to go from 1-5 to 8-10, that's not that bad. You know, that's pretty good. That's 7 wins, 5 losses. That's a respectable record, honestly. I think. Yeah. But also, it's weird because they lost Tactical and they got Rikara.
Yeah.
Which could be unfortunate, especially since they went 0-2 this past weekend. And they're the 6th seed, so they squeaked in.
Yeah.
But barely. And it looked bad if the matches had gone a little differently, they would have had to play tiebreakers. Which, when you go 0-2 and then you have to play tiebreakers, I think your mentals like really boom.
Yeah, that definitely would not have been good. But
yeah.
I think the TL losses like this week weren't 100% like Rikara or anything like that. I think it was some underperformance from Schernfire. I mean, he built that fucking Nashers on Elise. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
Yeah. I mean,
there was definitely some trolling going around.
It's not exactly that it's Rikara. I mean, when you've been playing with someone for the whole split, like 5 weeks, and then you have, you know,
and then you gotta like switch up the synergies around.
Yeah, and you switch it up, right? Because they played with Tactical till week 5 when he played LCS, and then they brought Rikara in for week 6, and now you've only played 4 weeks with Rikara, which is half of the time as other teams, right? So
yeah,
it can be rough. To me, EG versus TLA, it's a close matchup, I think, in the jungle, right? Because it's Onda versus Schernfire.
I mean,
aside from that, though, I from there I give the advantage a lot to EG, honestly.
Yeah. When it comes to the jungle matchup, like you brought up, Schernfire versus Onda, in the C9 versus EG game, like Honori was just rolling over EG in the early E game, like. Honori does that like almost every E game. I feel like Honori's just doing his thing, just like killing everyone or whatever. But Onda, I think if he steps it up, he can match Schernfire, but I don't know if he can beat him necessarily because Schernfire has that LCS experience where he was on the main roster and things like that. So, but I think TLA and EGA, like they both have like this underdog mentality, but I think TLA more just because like. They came in and they were like 1-5, like you said, and now they're in the playoffs. So that's like a miracle run.
Crazy start.
Yeah. If I've ever seen one, that's definitely a miracle run because FlyQuest and Immortals, I think, definitely trolled their season away, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that makes it hard for me to, think that TLA could move forward, like make the semis, is mostly that. While Jenkins, like even though they're winning games, Jenkins has been losing a lot of lanes, and he hasn't played many of the meta champions. Usually he's on GP because they want him to like play weak side, but also still have a decent laning phase. I mean, he was playing Kennen before, like. Just weird things that like don't.
He played Silas this weekend into Ornn and Fudge wrecked him.
Oh yeah, that was so bad. I don't like, but the thing is, like, I saw you don't watch LCK, but I watched Kana play Silas into Ornn and just demolish. Like, I think it's a skill matchup, and it obviously didn't go Jenkins' way. And again, Brandini has shown to be a lot better this split at least. And Giyu, I still don't really have that much of a read on him, honestly. He had that like abysmal game what was it, like 1-11 or something?
Yeah, that was his first game, but this past week he made some pretty good plays against C9. But what's it called? Paolo Fox definitely like made some plays on him too. So I think he's still like untested talent sort of thing, but I don't think he's like complete dog sort of thing.
Yeah, it kind of sucks for Fire. But I
Yeah.
guess Giyu must just be better. Like, at least EG thinks Giyu is like much better, right?
hmm
Um, yeah,
That's what we hope.
yeah. As far as Definitely and Matt, they ended third. What do you think? Do you think they're better than Tactical? I know Cal's been having like ups and downs.
Yeah. I think on a good day, like TLA can match that sort of like 2v2 bottom, but I don't know if they could like outright beat them because Deft and Matt, or Deftly and Matt, my bad. They're like pretty like solid. Like they don't like int or anything like that. Like they just play the game out the way it's supposed to be, and they don't get too many disadvantages, I would say. So yeah, like if we were to like make predictions right now, like definitely like TLA is not looking that great into EGA, but who knows, teamwork can
I think it's
rise
just the
above it.
match. I think the matchup just sucks for them.
Yeah,
Um,
I think like individually.
yeah, if they were playing against a different team, I could say they could maybe make the play. Like if they were playing against 100
hmm
Academy, I'd say they could maybe make it.
Yeah.
Just because 100 Thieves always like puts Fake God on weak side. So I could say you could make it because then you can't abuse Jenkin if he's not on weak side.
hmm Because if they're both weak side.
Yeah, if they're both weak side, then it's okay. And Fire versus contracts. I think Fire's better. So
I think that's
it'd be
doable, yeah.
yeah, that's doable. Um, but aside from that, like, and really, like TL had the chance to go 10-8 and like fight for that higher seed. They just had a pretty bad weekend, I gotta say. So it
Yeah.
sucks.
They just didn't perform to their expectations, obviously.
Yeah, it would have been super miracle run to go like 10-8 and make the like get something besides sixth place, right? So
Yeah.
that's pretty good. TSM versus 100A.
Both teams have been looking a little shaky in the second half of the split, I will say.
Yeah,
But
and
I
we'll
think
continue.
I think TSMA just look a little better just because like the players that they have like individually, I think um they just like perform better because like 100 Thieves Day, like they brought in like a couple of rookies in, I believe, or should I say just Breezy. They still have Soligo and Prismo from last split along with Fake God, and then Contracts as like sort of the veteran within the scene, but still trying to like prove himself as like a pretty good jungler. But I think TSMA, like they just have better players individually, I feel.
I don't know if I would say that. I think it's hard to judge. I can see where some of the players are better, right? Because Treats, Lost, and Dokla are all like, and Treats I think is actually really really good. But unfortunately, he's had good moments of split, but it hasn't been like the split before.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where the major problem for 100 Thieves Academy is Breezy still like like you said, he's a rookie, right? This is his first. He's a rookie. This is his first split academy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been playing a lot of Recon, and I feel like when you take that away, he doesn't look as good. To me, at least.
Yeah, I can see that. Like some of the games where like he's playing like Nautilus and like things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not performing to like what people expect of him when
Yeah.
he's playing like something like Rakan that's like super flashy and like has a lot of mobility. I just think it just comes down to like the matchup sort of thing. So like this past weekend it was literally 100 Thieves versus TSM. And like, when you're playing Nautilus into Braum, like that is a pretty hard matchup, but so is Rakan, I would say, because when you're playing Rakan into the Braum matchup, like Rakan goes in and then like Braum just puts up the shield and just super tanky. So it's not much of a engage there, but I think when it comes to like, I guess other champions that he could have pulled out, maybe it just maybe it just wasn't in the cards for them, sort of thing. But yeah, I just think that if 100 Thieves are able to like prepare enough within like this upcoming week, and when playoffs does come this weekend, I think they have a chance, but I don't think that chance is very high.
Yeah, and I think the odd thing to me about this past weekend's game is mostly that for 100 Thieves side at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that they draft Set, and then they decide that they don't want to go with Set top lane into Renekton.
Because that is a bad matchup.
Is it that bad though?
I think so, because like
because Fake got solo killed.
Renekton can take like small trades, and like he doesn't have to like all in sort of thing. And like when you're playing Set, you want the super long trades where you could get a lot of your passive and then just press W and then win that sort of fight. But when it comes to Renekton, he has a lot of like just like short trades. He can dash in, dash out. He's very slippery, and then like he has a lot of survivability with his ult as well. And then when it comes to like the TP plays, like they have like very similar like impacts. Like if they were both to like TP and bottom, like they're both gonna do like similar things. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, I totally understand, but my problem comes with that. I don't think 100 Thieves really lacked damage when you're running Orianna and Misfortune, right?
Mm-hmm.
I totally get that they want to. They want to send the Set to jungle, and they want to get a good matchup for the GP. It just ended up not going that way, especially when it's Renekton. Like that, to me, it doesn't seem like the benefit of getting GP into Renekton is enough that you should have picked it, right? Like if you were gonna like flex a Set, then you should have picked something that was gonna beat Renekton, or you should have banned it out so that you could do that.
Yeah, should have just pulled out the Quinn.
Yeah, right? So that's just the whole thing, is that you take a weaker jungler in Set, and then you just get a weaker top yeah, right? And that to me is like a drafting issue, and I know Kelsey has had some like crazy good drafts. I think this one's a little too cute though. A little too
just a little too crazy.
Yeah, right. And it's just that. I think everything else is fine. But it's just that you draft you get a worse, because like instead you could have Set Sejuani here, and then where are you dying? Yeah, there's your front line. Get through that, right? Before you get onto Orianna and MF. So that to me is just a little bit better. And Spica played a lot better than Contracts in that game too. Mm-hmm. I think it's clear that they have advantage in the jungle. And unfortunately, I have to say that mid lane is not really that big of a deal for the matchup. Both mid laners are pretty solid.
I think they're
both do their jobs
relatively even.
Yeah,
I think maybe Soligo might have like the advantage of like being in the scene a little longer, but I think Evolved, he definitely knows how to handle his own. I will say that.
Yeah, his laning is good. Like I said before when we touched on it earlier in the season, his rotations are not that crisp. So that just it's something you learn from playing pro.
Yeah, because definitely going back to the 100 Thieves TSM game, like Syndra was late for the rotation, and I guess it was because he just wanted to like, I guess he just didn't know that like Orianna was already moving, so he like shoved the wave in, or he shoved and then he like TP'd bottom, but like by the time he TP'd bottom, his team already won the play, so maybe he should have just stayed mid and held on to TP, because his TP didn't really do much.
Yeah, and sometimes like it's a team call, right?
Yeah.
That like but usually in my experience, you're like, guys I can TP, and then you just sit there and do nothing, right? Like you're just waiting for someone to answer you, like, oh, am I doing this or not?
Yeah.
It just doesn't really matter personally to me. And he could have just got more, like he would have got more just going mid, because he didn't get any. He just got an assist. So it
Yeah.
kind of sucks for him.
He was kind of just there for the photo finish.
Yeah, the photo finish. And that it's just a team thing, right? And I mean, it's also because of his base timing that he even got disadvantaged.
Hmm.
Which again, something in pro play, like you're always communicating about your base timings and things like that. So if you mess it up and like you base at a wrong time, you think the enemy mid's gonna base, and then instead they go bot lane
Bottom
and
or
they
top,
yeah,
yeah.
and it went badly for 100 Thieves, right? They only got the 2 kills and then like 4 of them died or 3 of them died. But
Hmm.
still, it's that could have been a misplay. Like you could have lost 2 people and lost none. And then obviously Soligo has the TP advantage for the next play, and they get more kills off of it.
Hmm.
So that's just the whole thing. He just takes a couple bad base timings here and there, and that's important for this matchup. But I've got to say, to me, it's definitely between Spica and Contracts. Like either Contracts, steps it up, or maybe Spica plays bad. But that's where the match like goes sideways for me, right?
Yeah, I agree. Because contracts, he's in academy now. He's trying to prove himself. He's trying to do like a lot of fancy plays, but sometimes he just outright like ints or like does something like very
Mm-hmm.
questionable, and I'm like, yikes, bro. But Spica, I think he's been a solid jungler. I can't recall anything that he's done where I was like, what the hell are you doing? But I think if it's a good day and both junglers are playing like pretty well, it can be like a really like interesting series and like really fun to watch. But whoever has a bad day, it's gonna be GG for the other team.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, Spica played. When we saw Spica in the Gauntlet last year, to me he seemed like he was playing pretty good. Like he had some bad moments, but not uncommon for someone who's a rookie in like such a high pressure situation, right?
Mhm.
So that's the thing for me. But it's mostly going to be up to I think one, the jungle matchup, and then two, whether or not they can stop 100 Thieves. Whether or not 100 Thieves' draft is like okay. Um, because with this one, they put themselves at a pretty big disadvantage already, I think, because they lost top lane tower before plating even fell. So, not not the best thing to happen, right?
Yeah.
Um, for me, I think it's gonna go to TSM. I think it would be 3-1. I think it'll go 3-1. I think there's probably going to be a game where either Fake Out or Sligo like really hard carries. Um, but aside from that, I think the difference between jungle and support is a little too big.
uh, you could be right. I'm not gonna put like a score on it, but I am definitely in favor of TSM over 100 Thieves. Despite me being like huge fans of like both orgs, obviously, I
Mm-hmm.
think 100 Thieves, like their academy roster, they haven't shown anything where I was like, wow, like this team's like super duper good. TSM have had like certain games where I was like, oh, okay, like that team comp was like nuts, or like that play was like pretty crazy. I think TSM like their peak's a lot higher than 100 Thieves' peak, if I can
Yeah,
say that. So
yeah. And as far as this, I think that's about as much as we can say for the playoffs for now until we see
who
who
wins?
Cloud9 chooses, right?
Yeah,
Uh, which is funny. Both Cloud9 teams locked first in the regular.
yeah, that org's
Uh,
just nutty.
Nutty. I think it might be something to do with the coaching staff.
Could
Okay.
be, honestly.
Kicked off you. Moving on to what was a very interesting weekend of LCS.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus, did you?
LCS was very interesting because
I
there were
haven't
so many
had,
tiebreaker situations.
I haven't had so much fun watching LCS in a while. Um,
Yeah.
but the thing that annoyed me is that I was like, why couldn't all these teams play this good, 4 weeks ago? Why are you all like playing like dog shit 4 weeks ago, and all of a sudden now you want to play good? Because I saw some quality games, and I saw some um quality-ish games, like like Fiesta, but good Fiestas, right? Um, Jesus, man,
Yeah.
I don't know.
There were definitely some interesting games. I guess we could start with TL. So like their
Of
playoff games
course.
were like, man, you're the TL fanboy here, and
I thought they
TL
could make it. They ended
TL
ninth. Oh.
unfortunately. So yeah, going into this week, it was pretty much in TL's hands to 2-0, and hopefully they get some sort of a tiebreaker to still have a chance at playoffs. But unfortunately, they went 1-1. I believe, right? They went 1-1. It or was it
Yeah.
0-2?
Wait.
Because
I'm
I
sorry.
know
Who?
I
IMT?
know they lost to C9 because of that backdoor, which like that game TL were playing honestly like the best that they could in terms of like that roster and that iteration of the team. But the other game they played against FlyQuest.
They went 0-2. Sorry.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I'm
So
sorry. I
they
zoned out for a second. No, they went 0-2, and that sucked. Okay, I'm just gonna be
yeah.
honest. It sucked because they had total control whether they were gonna make the playoffs or not, and then everything on the second day lined up perfect, like actually perfectly. Golden Guardians beat FlyQuest. It was a good game too. Um, Dig beat TSM. Golden Guardians beat COG. Dig beat IMT. And then
Mhm.
IMT lost to EG. So it was everything literally lined up. Like, and the FlyQuest versus Golden Guardians and the TSM versus Dig, those are upset games. Like, they
Yeah.
should have gone the other way. But both FlyQuest and TSM like kind of choked. I've got to say, TSM had a bad week. Gonna be
Yeah.
honest.
TSM went 0-2 as well.
FlyQuest obviously won their game versus TL, but it sucks so bad that they lost to Cloud9. Um, but to be perfectly honest, they should have. I'm gonna talk about them as like their whole season. They never should
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
been in a spot to not make the playoffs. Like watching the TL Cloud9 game made me think like this is how TL should have looked the whole season.
Split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have been like if they were trying as hard as they were in that game, they wouldn't be where they are right now, right?
Mhm.
You wouldn't have had to be the first place team in the league
To get a chance.
to get a chance to play in the playoffs. And that's just what pisses me off is that they could have if they had just gotten their shit together, if they had taken it a little bit more seriously, and maybe yeah, just a lot of things. Like as a fan, it really sucks.
Mhm.
For this split at least. But watching the last game they played kind of gave me a bit of hope that
They
maybe
can
next
make
split
it.
they won't. Yeah, maybe next split they won't suck, and they'll actually try and they can do something, right?
Yeah. I think like you were saying, like I think TL just had like a lot of like really, really bad games, like whether it was as a team or like individually. Like Impact had some really like games, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
And Broxa coming in like, like
Week 4.
he definitely like underperformed to like what people expected, but like when you're like the EU jungle god from like Fnatic, like and you join literally the first place team in NA, there's like a lot of expectations of you to like perform super duper well. But that just unfortunately did not happen. But yeah, TL losing the way they did against C9 to the backdoor was a little sad, but there were some fights and like some things that went wrong in that game. Like I think the biggest one was in like the late game where like they looked for a pick with Ash Arrow and Ornal at the same time, and then they didn't get it, and then they went for the E Dragon fight, and then they just lost it because they didn't have those cooldowns. So little things like that, especially in those late game scenarios, are like pretty big.
Yeah, and a couple key times, and and this was what shows me that Cloud9's a really good team. Is that they abused the fact that Doublelift didn't have Flash
Hmm.
when it was down. When TL had Baron, they most teams when the enemy team has Baron, you give up some objectives, right? But TL literally or Cloud9, they just like they decided, yo, we're gonna TP flank with Renekton. There's no flash on Ashe, and then Renekton flashes on Ashe, Rumble ults, and then Doublelift just dies, right? And then
Yeah.
all the Baron momentum gone. The game stalled out again. Um, TL still like makes good plays to like get back with Ash arrows. They got to pick onto Vulcan. That was really good.
Hmm.
And he was like perma CC'd, which was funny because
Yeah.
I was just watching him just stand there for like 10 seconds straight as he died.
He was definitely
Um,
running it because he didn't have
yeah,
QSS.
yeah, and that's just the whole thing with that game is that it showed Cloud9's on a really high level, but to me TL, like if he had just played like this the whole season, you would have been in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think Core JJ's build, like he went for Shurelia's and Redemption, which is very interesting on Braum. I
The
think
Shurelia's is interesting, I gotta say. But
I think that's slightly in because I think if he went like Knight's Vow or like something else other than the Shurelia's, because I get it, like when you get fights started, you kind of just like want to like keep going and just like press that button to like keep your team up in terms of like movement speed and things like that. But I think when you have like like 3 clouds, right? You have enough CDR where it's like, all right, you're probably gonna have another Ash Arrow come up in like less than a minute. You're probably gonna have another Ornal come up in less than a minute. Like I don't think you need the Australias to like keep fights going, sort of thing.
yeah, they only really had Ornalt for engage.
Yeah, I mean, like Double did make a couple of good picks. I will say that he definitely knew when to like pull the trigger and be like, I kill this fucking guy.
Yeah, but the thing is that you have Elite, and I hate Elise. I hate
Yeah.
seeing Elise. Like I think it's so bad, but TL like plays it a lot because I think it's what Brox's comfort is.
Hmm.
And that just kind of annoys me that you couldn't play standard for one game. You couldn't, even though he had a good early game, right? Like, I think another champion would have been more useful.
Hmm.
Um, Towards the later parts of the game, because in the end of the game, it's just it's just at least like just being a cocoon bot. You hit the cocoon or not, then you're pretty useless, right? And that's
Yeah.
it. I think enough about TL. They didn't make it. Maybe they make changes, maybe they don't. Personally, I think they'll be better in summer. Do I think they'll be better? And summer is a weird term because it's only really like
A
it's
couple
in May.
weeks.
It's in May. It starts in the middle of May, so like 6 weeks from now. So to me, summer is a weird time. I don't think they'll make any changes. Um, there might be a coaching staff change, I think, because as far as I can tell from interviews and stuff like that, there's a lot of conflict between some of the players and the coaching staff. Uh,
Yeah.
and when you have that kind of stuff in the middle of a season, it's pretty hard to change it,
Hmm.
especially since you can't get any imports right now because you can't like nobody's coming into the country, so you can't really do anything about that, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I'm hoping TO come back next split and they show that they can be top three, right? Because I
Yeah.
think I think the top three we have right now is a little disingenuous.
Like at the end of the standings.
Yeah, so right now it's Cloud9, EG, 100 Thieves.
Hmm.
And we've seen, and this is the weird thing, right? Is because we've seen two teams who at their peak look like they can contest Cloud9. And obviously I'm talking about like TL and TSM, right? When they
Hmm.
play at their absolute best, they take, TL took Cloud9 to a really close game, and then TSM actually beat them. Um, but
Hmm.
of course, TL had their own problems. But TSM, they had an O2 week, and they have been so inconsistent, like so crazy inconsistent.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with TSM, but it looks like for this week. So first up with the what's it called? Was it the 100 Thieves game? Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
they had
the
100 Thieves first.
it was the 100 Thieves game where like they were playing like super well. They were looking like themselves, and then like somewhere they just like fumbled the bag and just like lost the game because it like hit late. And because Cody Sun's on Aphelios and Kabi's on Varus, season 10 champion activates and it's fucking over. So
We were memeing about that so much.
I mean, yeah, because like whichever your team had Aphelios, as long as it got to like late game, it kind of looked kind of done.
And and the worst part is they gave over Aphelios and Ornn.
Yeah.
Like, it just triggered me. I'm like, you know how many teams have lost to Aphelios and Ornn?
Yeah.
It didn't make and they first picked Aatrox. Like that's the most egregious thing to me, is that dude just pick Ornn. Like he's literally broken. Just pick it. There's
Yeah,
no
but they're
reason
like
not to
some
pick.
days Aatrox. Oh my god, it's scary.
Yeah, and then
But BB
100
Inted, I don't know.
100 Thieves even gave them the chance to pick like Ornn mid lane, right? Because and first of all, Bjergsen did play an Ornn mid lane game and it was good. So let's not say anything about Bjergsen because he played well on that Ornn. But like they could have just taken Ornn and then you gave over Aatrox and Ornn and set his band. That's like, how do you lose? How do you lose? Weird.
Yeah. He
So
just got
that,
to late game and then 100 Thieves just won it.
and of course they were playing better early, right? They were beating 100 Thieves. They had the gold lead, but it's the same thing where they played their early game really well, and then, it hits 20 something minutes, and then you're losing all of a sudden, right? And this is the game Bjergsen even got a pentakill in.
Yeah, he definitely got a pentakill, which helped secure my fantasy one, but...
I came in second to last. So I had an unlucky split. I had TL players.
It definitely looked like TSM, like, they knew what they were doing, and then, like, they just suddenly were like, oh, shit, what the fuck? I guess we lose now. Like, Victor scaled up, just presses R on Bjergsen. Bjergsen can't play the game. Cody Sun's just doing his thing.
Victor's an old school counter to Azir, like Season 5, because the Chaos Storm, you just leave it on him, and he can't sit in auto, or else you just kill him, because the Chaos Storm does a shit ton of damage. And the funny thing to me is that, this draft was pretty walked into. Like, Medios played Trundle into, like, realistically a one-tank comp with, I mean, you could say it's two tanks because there's Stoneplate. Like it's Tom Kench and Jarvan who both build Stoneplate.
Yeah.
But like you negate one of those tanks, and then Cody Sun and Ryoma just put in work on Victor and Aphelios. You just delete, and obviously Cody is a great Aphelios player, especially when he gets to have like a Molten Edge from Ornn, right?
Yeah.
Like the damage is just insane. And honestly, TSM probably should have closed this game out. They had a big lead.
Like, they got, like
was
100
10K,
Thieves.
10K gold lead, 9K
100
gold
Thieves
lead.
threw at the Baron. Bjergsen got the Penna, but it just looked like that they didn't do much with the Baron. Like, I don't even think they got a inhib with it, as far as I can remember.
They had an inhib tower.
Yeah, it looks like they got inhib tower bottom, but they didn't actually get the inhib, and then they were just like stalling out with the Drakes. But once Baron was over, like it was just a even game with 100 Thieves. They finally scaled up. They got the items that they needed. They got the Ornn items. So at that point in the game, especially since Medios is on Trundle, like he just has to press R on whoever's in the front, and then they just hit the front to back, and then they just win the fights like that. So it just seems like TSM maybe should have like looked to like pull the trigger more or something like that. Like even if it looked like an int, like maybe Dardoch should have just like dove or something, because like they're scaling. It's getting super late. It's not going to be fun for them when Aphelios is just hitting everyone and Victor just one shots your carries. So
yeah, I mean the thing is, like, when you look at it, when they were at that inhib, their mid laners 4 items to 2. So it's like your mid laner is so wildly far ahead. How do you expect to lose a fight? Which is rough. But also, going Azir and Varus is just asking for someone to build. What's the Adaptive Helm? There you go. Sorry. Adaptive Helm is like the most triggering thing to play against as an Azir player, because you literally just can't do anything. You can't kill that, and especially also it's Varus who works on the same principle versus Adaptive Helm, so it's just really easy to counter both those champions' damage.
Yeah.
unfortunately. And like you said, they just got outscaled and they couldn't close. They really should have closed like, 5, 6 minutes before they lost. Because they
Yeah.
had the lead. When you have that big of a lead, you expect to win. And I mean, this happened in the FlyQuest game. Obviously, it was different because they had like an early game draft and they lost with it. But this
Hmm.
one looks like it would have been okay late, but not better than what like Hundred Thieves drafted. Obviously,
Yeah.
um, and maybe that's Hundred Thieves thinking that TSM can't close fast enough, or maybe
Yeah.
it's just them like we just have tanks. We just have Orin and Aphelios. Like that's good enough.
Yeah. We have Ornifilios, Trundle, and then, Nautilus.
And
So,
then the next TSM game. God,
Dignitas, man. I don't
what
know
a
how
crazy. They gave over Orin Aphelios again after
then
just losing with
and then
it.
they opted into the Azir Victor matchup.
Again! It's actually insane the parallels we saw. Like it was so awful. Like they
Yeah.
lost to basically the same exact draft, just worse.
Yeah.
Because this
You
time
just
they
had
had Lee Sin instead
Mhm.
of Trundle, and they had I think it was and then the other team had the Tomcat, right?
Yeah.
Like it, to me, the Dig draft was worse than the Hundred Thieves draft, and they still lost. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, Bjergsen didn't get a pentakill in this game. But God, this game, the beginning of this game was so boring. Like, nothing was going on. Everyone was just farming.
Yeah.
Froggen and Bjergsen were just sitting mid lane, like perfect farming for 11 minutes straight, like 12 minutes straight, because they were both keeping up like 10 CS per minute, which is crazy when you think about it, because that means they missed like almost no CS at all,
Hmm.
the whole lane phase. Sorry, I'm just gushing about mid laners real quick because that's what I see, and I'm like, oh, they're so fucking good, right?
Yeah.
But again, Dig was better at the 8-minute Herald swap, so they had a lot of tempo. Um, the TSM bot lane didn't get there in time, and they kind of just gave it over.
Hmm.
And maybe I'm not sure because a lot of teams have said they need practice on it. But it's 9 weeks into the split. At this point, you should have the practice on it, right?
On which champion?
No, on like the 8-minute Herald swap.
Oh, the 8 minute. Yeah, I don't know. Some teams are just fucking. Oh shit! It's 8 minutes. Fuck. It
Yeah,
just
and
seems
like,
really
you're
slow.
supposed to move like at 7:30, and you're supposed to be there, and TSM was just late, and they didn't make it in time. That's what
Yeah,
it
I think.
like. It shows to me like their early game macro isn't even as clean as it used to be.
Yeah, I think TSM were just out of the sorts this week. But on top of that, I think they were also just like trying certain things out. So like they played Azir 2 games in a row, and then in the second game against Dig, they just opted into the Yumi matchup with Tom Kench, which Ezreal Yumi, like late game, that shit's annoying because like you honestly can't catch either of them, and like they can chase you down as well. So like that's just not fun to play against whatsoever. But it just never got to that like super duper late game stages, and on top of that, they have Aphelios, again. So at that point, I think Aphelios just is a much better ADC in terms of like raw damage versus
Hmm.
Ezreal. So
Yeah, and of course, like Johnson is the Aphelios guy. Like
yeah.
he is so good on Aphelios. It's pretty crazy that like teams are like banning it out, not giving it to him, and that's just what the weird thing is that like most people will ban it from him or not let him play it, and then he just got it this weekend, and he was able to pop off and almost get Dig to that they almost got the playoffs.
Yeah,
Tisso's
unfortunately.
Tissot also had some bad team fights like in the mid lane. There was a Victor flank from Froggen when he
Hmm.
was like on like 3 wards and he still got in and killed Kabe, and I'm just like that. And Kabe had like flash up, and there was heal exhaust up, and I'm just like, how do you even die? Like
Yeah, I
that's
guess it just
crazy.
happened too
Like
fast for them to be like, oh shit, wait, he died.
yeah, yeah, and then they lose Baron, they lose Dragon Fight, and then at that point like you can't really. Azir cannot clear Baron waves alone. I'll just let you like you need some sort of other damage, and obviously Ezreal doesn't have the best wave clear.
Hmm.
So once they lost to Baron, the game's kind of over. And just sucks. Um,
Yeah,
I
I
think.
think
Go ahead.
TSM in like the first game against what's it called, 100 Thieves, like they just got the better early game plays off, and they were able to like snowball it off of that. And then as we saw, they just got outscaled. But within the dig game, they were just too afraid to make plays, and then like nothing happened, and then they just rolled over and died.
Yeah, and that sucks. I think.
Yep. Because
Also,
watching that game, I was like, damn, Dig's actually like winning this like pretty like one-sidedly.
yeah, and also I like Froggen's Victor build better than I like Rayoma's. He went Lichbane second like a Chad. And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
Rayoma went
man.
like Zanya. I was like, that Lichbane second, it's Chad. He was popping kids. You remember?
I mean,
You remember
yeah.
Pope's Victor versus
Yeah,
TSM?
he's just running in,
Yeah, it was.
just
That was
running
pretty
in,
fun.
not giving a fuck, just like,
Yeah, it was
come
just
at me,
like,
bro.
yeah, like, Q, and he was just getting deleted. Yeah, that was good.
Do you want to talk
You
about
know,
the tiebreakers or any other team in particular?
you know, well, the only teams allowed enough to talk about are obviously the tiebreaker teams. So the first tiebreaker, obviously, Golden Guardians beat CLG and FlyQuest to secure their spot in the tiebreaker. Due to the head-to-heads of the teams, Golden Guardians had the best record versus the other two teams, so they got to be seated in the top half.
Mm-hmm.
Dig and IMT were in the lower half, and we've talked about Dig. They got they played a lot of late game comps. They scaled up. Cooney still didn't have the best games. Obviously, Johnson and Froggins were the ones kind of like carrying the games that they played that during the week. And when it got to the tiebreaker against IMT, boy did IMT chuck it, man. They just
I mean, they definitely chucked it in the draft. Just like, all right, man, we'll give you Aphelios again. Why not? Fuck it.
yeah, fuck it,
Okay, why not? And then they like opted into like the weaker early E game jungler in Sejuani, and Dig were like, all right, we're just gonna big dick it and pick Pantheon and just run around. So
And this game went late too. Like,
yeah, the game didn't.
and IMT had Ocean Drake, and they still lost. Like, how big of a mental boom do you think it is to like get Ocean Drake and still lose? Like,
yeah.
Ocean Drake, and they had 4 Ocean Drakes, by the way, 4, and they
Yeah.
lost. So it's just insane that they. I mean, one, it's like a 500 CS Aphelios, right? 6 items, all damage, no boots. But I don't know. It was crazy, honestly.
Yeah. I was talking about the tiebreaker game, but
Oh,
yeah,
you were talking about
the regular season game. Yeah, it was definitely very interesting. The fact that like it went to super late, and like they were just like IMT were just rolling over like their lead, like just like they were just making some like really, really like questionable things. Like, all right, guys, we're gonna go for the backdoor here. It's like, wait a minute, you sure you want to do that? Because Johnson and Afro are just running it down in the base, so. And it's fucking Aphelios, so he's 100% going to shred that Ornn. And like they got Elder too. So like I think what some teams don't realize is that when you lose Elder, you have to literally concede everything. because
you can't win any fights.
Yeah, you literally can't win any fights. And then on top of that, you don't even have to like take your full HP bar because Elder is just going to do the rest, obviously.
What is it, 20%, I think? Or is it 30%?
I think it's 30. So like pretty much like 1/3 of your HP bar, you're fucking dead. So yeah. Like that regular season game where it went to like 60 minutes, like that shit was rough. But and then IMT ran it back and like did like the same thing. Like they just gave Johnson Aphelios, like he wasn't going to pick it. Like what the fuck? Like you guys saw what happened last time and you guys decided to like not ban it. Like it just seems super weird that they were just like, all right, we're just gonna give it to you again, and then we're gonna like trade set over and like pick MF to like sort of like soft counter it, quote unquote, because like MF can do well into Aphelios, but when it just comes to like raw damage, like Aphelios is just gonna run everyone over. So
He probably is the highest damage AD at the moment.
Yeah, highest damage AD, just because like every single one of his spells does damage. So
yeah, and IMT, I have to say, had a rough. They went 0-3.
Mm-hmm.
They only had to win one game to make it to playoffs. They either had to
it's
beat,
just like Worlds.
exactly. And the game they really needed to win was like the Dig one, because like that. First of all, you're playing Dig, so that's your best chance. If they had just won that game,
They would have had a chance to make it in.
no, they would have made you when they if they won that game, they would have been 9 wins, and they would have.
Oh, okay. So they would have just locked.
They
in.
would have just been in playoffs. They would have locked per playoffs, but they lost.
Okay. Yeah, but they lost everything.
Yeah, so crazy. So crazy. Super unfortunate for IMT, and they ended where I thought they would end. They ended 8th.
How did you know?
Well, that's I might have rated them 4th in the start of the season, but once I saw some people play the game, I was like, this is bottom tier team, and you know what? We're bottom tier. They were 8th.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
The next tiebreaker that happened was 100 Thieves FlyQuest.
Yeah. So this one was for 2nd.
Yes, this is the tiebreaker. Well, this one would have been to play for 2nd.
Yeah. This one is the chance to play for 2nd. So
right.
100 Thieves definitely played the game pretty well. I think 100 Thieves are definitely on the upswing just because on how they're playing. And I like the team comp that they went for. They just went for the bot lane of Lucian Braum, just like, Big Dick, Ball Turtle, and Ignar. Because, Ignar, he's like, oh, that's Braum. I could pick Yuumi. But, like, when your bot laner is, Braum and Lucian, you kind of have, like, no pressure to, like, really fight, kind of. Because, like, if Braum lanes a Q and, like, Lucian wants to go in, he will go in. And, like, what Yuumi is going to do is, like, he's going to just, like, exhaust and, like, heal and, like, do some other things. But it's not going to be, like, a whole lot there, honestly. So I think that, I think the draft that they came up with was pretty good for 100 Thieves. Just, like, wanting to, like, play to win it and not to play to lose. Because I think FlyQuest were definitely scared going in.
Yeah, of course. And they had good lanes all around. Like, and this is what I liked, especially when you pair with Sejuani, is when you pair winning lanes with Sejuani. So like Set into Aatrox, it's pretty even. Can go either way. It depends on the players. Obviously, you think Sunday's gonna win whatever matchup you get. But the thing to me was that they got Ryoma Syndra, which even though when you think about who's like when you rank the mid laners, most people would put Power Revo over Ryoma. When you give them like an even like a matchup where he has like a lot of initiative, like a lot of what's the other word for initiative? Control, I think, is a better word.
Yeah,
he had a lot of control in the matchups, and it showed because he played really well on the Syndra. And I was pretty low on Ryoma at the start, but obviously he has like significantly improved, especially in the second half. He's been playing pretty well. Again, his landing's not super great, but aside from that, like it's good enough. So I think that's where 100 Thieves' real strengths are. Is that Ryoma can play well enough to go even, and then you focus on Sunday, you focus on Cody, and Cody had a great game, but it was really brought out by Stunt, because Stunt had a phenomenal game, I have to say.
Yeah, I think it's probably due to like Stunt and Cody, like they've brought it out in the heist where like they'll argue about like how they want to play the lane and things like that, which is like I think that's very important, especially when like they're friends with each other. And on top of that, I think when they talk to each other about how to like play certain lanes and how things should be done, things like that, like I think they meet like a understanding and like a middle ground in terms of like how they want to play it. So I think Lucian Braum, that's like a pretty like classic lane for bottom lane. And when it comes to the Yuumi matchup, I think Stunt has a lot of experience on playing Yuumi and also playing Braum. So I think he knows like what windows and like what opportunities to take. Because like obviously like when Ignar was out of the W and like Stunt just like jumped on him and like Stunt literally got all 4 of the.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, he literally got all 4 of the autos off, and they just killed Ignar. I'm assuming.
But Ignar kind of hinted it. Like he really needed it to W like sooner, but like he got caught in the
or
middle
like
of
blow
it.
heal to like get the movement speed or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Stunt just like knew. He's like, all right, so like. I'm assuming he took the attack speed because, like, I don't think he would, or the, attack speed instead of, like, the CDR or, like, the adaptive force because I think no way, like, can a no attack speed Braum could just auto the Yumi like that and just kill her. Who knows? Maybe Braum can do that and I just don't know.
Maybe Ignar just entered it, like.
Yeah, maybe. But
yeah.
I think Ignar just didn't know the matchup as well as he thought he knew it, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, that kind of blew up the game because Cody-san got that kill and they.
Yeah. And then they just went top, and like Solo was like playing aggressive when Harold was up, and they just killed Solo, and then just kept snowballing the game from there. So,
yeah, I saw a funny Reddit comment where it was like 2018 Spring 100 Thieves has reconnected, and then like the thing was it was like Ryoma, no Ryuma, like as if it was Ryu, and like and it was pretty good. It was a pretty good comment, I have to say. 100 Thieves in the second half surprised me because I didn't think they'd be
as good as they are.
Yeah, as good as they are, right?
Yes.
And it could be because like they had a pretty rough start. I say rough, but like they weren't winning every game. They at one point they have a negative record, like this kind of thing. But the game against FlyQuest Classic, it really shows that they are a good team. Like if you can be, I think FlyQuest to me seems like kind of like a bar, and they always seem like the bar, right? They're like, oh, FlyQuest is good, but they're not great, but they're not like they're not really bad. And like 100 Thieves clearly showed they're better than that with the games that they played, which excites me because I like 100 Thieves as a team, and I like the players. I love Meteos, I love Sunday, and Cody has been rubbing off on me because he had some big dick energy plays.
Of course. Playing the Lucian, you gotta do that.
Yeah, of course. That's like one of my favorite ADCs, so, classic. Touching on FlyQuest. Kind of a fall, like a pretty big fall, I have to say. Viper getting subbed out for Solo. Solo definitely showing, I think, a better performance. But I don't think that's where FlyQuest issues are coming from. I think they're mostly stemming from the fact that it seems like Ignar hasn't been able to move around as much as before. It could be because teams are getting better.
I think that's partially it.
But also, Power Evo's not having his pop-off games anymore. He's not really getting the picks he was getting in the start of the season. Like, I don't see him getting Syndra anymore. He's usually, like, on Orianna nowadays. And that doesn't give you as much, like, power in the lane phase. So, unfortunately for me, FlyQuest has kind of fallen to where I thought they would be, Like, after seeing the season play out, 4th, 5th, kind of seems where they'd be. They're in 4th right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with, like you said, like teams are just getting better, and like FlyQuest is like a good like middle ground in terms of like where teams want to be in terms of like being good. Like you can be either below FlyQuest or above FlyQuest, and now I think teams like Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves are just getting better. So FlyQuest they haven't improved, since I guess the season started, sort of thing. Like even when they got Solo, like they kind of looked more or less the same team,
except just better laning.
Yeah.
Except for that one game.
Except for that one win game that we don't talk about.
That was so unfortunate. I'm just gonna say that's still unfortunate as fuck. Moving on. The the third tiebreaker game that happened was Golden Guardians versus Dig. We talked about it. Yeah, we talked about it a lot. We talked about about Dignitas. They get Aphelios. They got Aphelios in their other 3 wins. That Golden Guardians did. Dig actually banned Aphelios.
Because they were like, we don't want FBI to play it.
Yeah, because FBI is also a really good Aphelios player, which is funny too. But the big thing for Golden Guardians this week for me was that Golden Glue fucking played.
Oh yeah,
That
man.
man
He was Scrim God Golden Glue on the
Scrim
Zoe.
God Gold. He was playing so good this weekend. Like, it was crazy how good he was playing to me. I was like, after that, like week 8, where he looked so bad, so bad in their losses. Right? He went 1-10 on combined in the 2 games, and then this week one of his games was like 7-1 or something crazy like that. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus, he was playing really well. He did get Zoe 2 games, and he played really well in those 2 games.
Yeah.
And he
Definitely
had that like
popping off.
he had the one where like he one shot. Who
Power
was it?
Vivo.
Yeah, he won. No, it wasn't Power Vivo.
Yeah, in the Fly
Oh,
Quest
it
game,
was.
where it was
Yeah,
over
yeah.
the Dragon Pit. And
Sorry,
like,
it was a Victor. I was thinking it was Froggen, but no, it was Power
yeah.
Vivo.
They both
yeah,
played
he-
Victor.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Into Zoe, and he just got one shot by the fucking Zoe, and I was like, God, Golden Glue. And Golden Glue was like in the back. He was in the back line as Zoe, like making them blow flashes, trying to chase him, like. And then obviously it's Zoe, so she's just picking up flashes and just running around.
So obviously Froggen learned, and he took Cleanse in that matchup. But Power Vivo was like, I'll take TP, see what happens, and then got bubbled once, and then just one tapped, and I was like, nice.
Yeah, so
that's a champion.
That's where it sucked for Power Vivo. But Golden Guardians, God, they improved so much, and Huhi is a much needed addition. Honestly,
yeah, I think
after 4 weeks of practicing with Huhi, they look pretty good.
Yeah, I think part of it is because like Keith, like maybe like mechanically, like they're both like on par in terms of like support now, but I think Huhi has like a pretty strong voice on the team, and like he knows like what to go for and like what fights to take, things like that. Just by like watching like him like duo with like Haunter on stream, like I think Huhi, like he knows how to play the game, obviously. So like he uses that to his advantage and is like, all right, so we're gonna look for a play here. We should get vision here, So I think like my theory is that like there's a lot of like comms that we just don't know about with like Huhi, and like that's why they're playing so well, because on top of that, they have Closer,
they look more crisp,
and Golden Glue to also help with like the shot calling aspect of like, all right, we should go for this, we should play for this, and I'm pretty sure everybody is contributing, because like FEI isn't dumb either. Like he knows what he wants in bottom lane, and Huhi knows what he also wants from bottom lane as well. So I think altogether, like they're just playing a lot better, and it makes it for a very interesting team. So I'm glad that they made it into playoffs the way they did.
Very interesting for the playoffs to me, actually, because this team could like upset someone and proceed to like make the next round of playoffs, right? Which is crazy to think about, especially since they got in the 6th seed. Back to a little bit to your Huhi point. Huhi has played on a team that has been to the finals of MSI. Like, it's not like, and Huhi was on CLG because he was a better communicator than Pobelter. Like, that was the reason given at the time. And to me, that just makes it like, it's pretty obvious that this is the guy they need, right? Like, he's the voice. He gives your team a voice. He gives your team a little bit more direction. Because the big thing to me is that, while Golden Glue did play better, right? It's not just Golden Glue playing better. It's like the team isn't
moving around better. Yeah,
they're not random dying in side lanes like 10 times like they did in some games. Like, that's just an important thing for Golden Guardians, is they had solid early games, but their mid games they would always die in sides all the time. So that obviously, since changing Huhi and bringing him in, it looks good, especially when you can put him on things like Braum and Tom Kench and things that like don't require like a lot of mechanics. He did have the Ziggs game, which was really cool, I thought.
Yeah, into the, what was it?
Tom Kench.
Tom Kench, yeah. I think into Tom Kench and Yuumi, I think Ziggs support can work, because with Yuumi, you actually just press W as Ziggs on the Yuumi, and then she's technically CC'd, so she can't press W again to attach to someone. But then into Tom Kench, like Tom Kench is like the worst supporting laner out of every single support, the worst. Like obviously Tom Kench can win lane, but at that point you're kind of like inting / running it down the lane.
Typically with only Varus though, right? Like
yeah. So it is kind of hard to play lane as Tom Kench, so he was just like taking it to the literal extreme and just playing a poke support that only did damage. So
yeah, I bet LS was just like like was
he's
just like
yes.
I'm so proud someone punished it, like something like this. Which I thought it was a cool pick to see, and it was surprising to see in the game. They were playing against CLG, so it was, they had some leeway. They thought they could just beat CLG like that, right? So it's a good one. Overall, with Golden Guardians, they don't know who they play in the playoffs yet, because they have to see who loses. And they don't get to pick. They just either get EG or Fly. Yeah. And honestly, with how FlyQuest has been looking, that's a winnable series. Because they already beat them in the regular. That's a winnable series, I think. The next round, a little tougher, because it, could be like TSM, it could be like 100 Thieves. Those are kind of rough matchups for them. Interesting, to say the least. So, yeah, they locked in 6th seed. Dignitas also tried to make the Ryoko run. IMT really running it down to lose their spot. Overall, I'm pretty glad that Golden Guardians made it, because Golden Glue has had a bit of a rough time overall in his career. So I'm kind of happy that he made playoffs, right?
Yeah, on a starting team.
Yeah, on a starting team, and starting for a team. And then also making playoffs off of like the team's capabilities,
Yeah.
That's good. For the last tiebreaker, EG versus 100 Thieves.
I think EG's a good team now. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's weird to me because I keep seeing Bang tweet like, "I still miss home.
I want to go home."
I still want to go home, and I'm like, "Is Bang okay? Like, do you guys?"
Yo, Bang don't give a fuck. He's like, "Yo, let me win."
Check out Bang for me. Can you check out Bang? Because he is he's kind of worrying me a little bit. Like, I understand, like, he probably wants to go home because the whole virus thing. You probably don't want to be in LA, especially when they're talking about like how many people could get hurt or sick and stuff like that, right? And especially since it's more handled in Korea now. But again, with the Aphelios, you handed over Aphelios to Bang.
100 Thieves coin flipped it. They're like, are they gonna pick it? Fuck, they picked it.
They got counter picked. They got Malzahar into Zoid, right? And Svenskeren has been playing a lot of Lee Sin recently, looking like we were joking about it, but he looks like 2016 like Svenskeren on Lee Sin. He's playing really fucking well. But honestly, the game wasn't really that close, to me at least.
Yeah, the game was never in 100 Thieves' position to win it all. I felt like they definitely made some good plays. Stunt got some kills. Some things like that. But I don't think 100 Thieves ever had that one big play where they handedly won the game sort of thing.
Yeah, and they had some weird fights top lane where they were just dicking around
dove
that
the
tier
first
1.
tier.
They dove the first tier, and it was a good dive, but then they they kept dying separated after that. And like I said,
up.
The Malzahar was just such a solid counter. Ryoma couldn't really do anything in that game, I felt. And Jizuke was split pushing on fucking Malzahar, which was funny to see. He was still split pushing hard as fuck. And that was it was funny to see, one, but two, Jizuke played really well. And Jizuke has played much better in the second half, I have to say. It's weird because 100 Thieves and EG were both teams that were playing super well in the second half. And they kind of got up to a good level, right?
Yeah, I think EG are just a good team now. They know what they want to do, and they're here to compete against TL sort of thing. So, but TL obviously were competing against themselves and they lost. But yeah, I think EG's just a solid team now. Jizuke has stepped up. The bot lane has looked a lot better. And Svenskeren It looks like he relearned League of Legends or something during that like 1 week break when it was suspended or whatever. So,
Yeah,
um,
and
yeah, I
Kumo's been
think
playing. I think we touched on it last week, but Kumo's been playing a lot better too.
yeah, I think Kumo's been holding his own a lot more as well. Like he's just like, all right, just try to not int so much, and I think we'll be okay. So he did have a couple of deaths in the tiebreaker game, but I think it was fine. It wasn't like super detrimental to the team, I think.
Yeah, and with this victory for EG,
They locked in
they
the
second
second
seed,
seed, so they
which
didn't have to play Cloud9.
they don't. Yeah, super important because you don't have to play Cloud9. But then they also arguably got the easier opponent in FlyQuest. I think
Yeah,
it's
they definitely got the easier
it's
opponent.
odd that Cloud9 picked 100 Thieves. I think 100 Thieves was probably thinking like, oh, FlyQuest looks worse than us. They'll pick FlyQuest, right? But the way the seeding works, whoever loses from Cloud9 goes to face TSM.
Hmm.
So some people were speculating like maybe Cloud9's picking 100 Thieves because they think 100 Thieves is better than TSM and they don't want to have to play TSM in a best of 5. You do have to beat every team, right? But
Yeah,
obviously you don't want to exactly play like every fucking hard opponent, right? Like they knocked TL out for a reason. Like you give TL maybe 4 more weeks to not fucking in, then maybe they look like a finals team, right? And you just kill them before they get there. So that matchup for me is, I think any team, the matchup versus Cloud9 is difficult. Um, and the only way I can see 100 Thieves winning is if somehow someday just pops off. Like
yeah. He
it
just
really
makes
requires
Licorice his
like
bitch and just like rolls
yeah,
over the entire top side or
yeah.
something like that.
And honestly, Licorice has not had his best split. He has looked arguably like the weakest member on C9, which is weird to say because C9 is a good team. It's a very good team, so they don't have that many weak members. But Licorice has looked like the weak side top laner, the kind of not the best split for him. So I can see if 100 Thieves could. I see a way for 100 Thieves to win because their strength matches up with quote unquote C9's weakness.
Hmm.
And that's just it to me, is that I don't think 100 Thieves will win, obviously. It'd be
Yeah,
pretty troll to say that. But I do see a way they could win.
yeah. I
Which is
think.
better than, FlyQuest would have had.
I think Hundred Thieves could take maybe one game, but I don't see them winning the whole series. Maybe it could be 5 games, but
Yeah,
I
if
feel
you're
like
if you're very lucky, it could be
yeah,
5.
but I feel like Cloud9 just like they're like super like refined in terms of like their play like in game is just like super hard to like break that, and like obviously like TSM did and like TL almost did as well. It's just that C9 like they know what they want to do, and like they have like a very like clear plan in terms of like what champions they have, what team comp they have, and like early game, mid game, late game. Like they they are definitely like the best team in NA right now, and if they get knocked out of playoffs with double elimination, by the way, like that would be pretty crazy for them.
Super
Cause
insane.
yeah, like they have 2 chances to pretty much make it to the finals, and if they don't, that is kind of crazy. So
Yeah. So obviously I think we're both predicting Cloud9 to win.
hmm
Um,
for EG FlyQuest, FlyQuest have definitely been on the downswing, so I don't know how like team morale is, but if they're able to like get their shit together and like actually like pull it together and be like, all right guys, how were we winning before, and like what are your teams doing now to like stop us from doing what we were doing before, sort of thing, and like sort of like adapt to that, they can win. But I think EG like they are just much better now. Like they aren't trolling their drafts anymore, they aren't trolling their play. It looks like that they know what they want to do now, and like individually like they're all playing better, especially like Chizuke and Svenskeren, I feel. So I'm gonna have to give it to EG. It could be a close series, honestly, but I feel like EG might just roll them over.
yeah, I have to agree with you that since Karen and Jusuke have been playing much better. Um, the big thing for me is that there's realistically no big strength for FlyQuest aside from Ignar PoE.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Centauran has been doing well. The unfortunate thing for me is that it seems like PoE is their main carry, and he has to go up against, Jizuke and
Yeah.
Svenskeren.
Mm-hmm.
Tough jungle 2v2. As well as the fact that they have Bang in bot lane. And Bang often wins lanes. So if you're, I mean, it's also it's Bang Zazel, and it's also top lane for EG. Sorry, Kumo.
It's all
Like,
good.
yeah, the solo's not gonna like solo carry as if Sunday would, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem to me that there's any like really big spot for like FlyQuest to attack, and they have a lot of spots for EG to push at.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that because it just feels like EG, like they are just being a much more proactive team now, and I feel like FlyQuest, like they've been figured out and they're just rolling over and dying in most games. I feel so. It just looks like EG have the advantage in this matchup in particular.
Yeah. Um.
But if whichever your team loses, they just get knocked to the losers bracket, so they get one more chance. Luckily.
Yeah. I mean, they play Golden Guardians. Whichever one of them loses plays Golden Guardians. So always a
Mm-hmm.
possibility to keep going. Um. But for FlyQuest, it's looking like a pretty rough playoff series. I
Yeah.
think it'd be worse if they were playing against TSM though. So, um, the best they can hope for, I guess.
Yeah. I guess so because all of the teams that are gonna be playing in this upcoming week, like I said, they all have another chance to make it to the finals, but their opponents in the losers bracket, TSM have definitely been on the downswing, but TSM are still like a pretty good team, I would say. As long as they, pick it up again because, losing is improving, as they always say. And Golden Guardians have only been on the upswing, so I think if Golden Guardians come in well prepared on whichever opponent get knocked down there, I think whether it's EG or FlyQuest, I think that Golden Guardians have a chance to beat them.
Yeah, and that would be a big upset, to be honest.
Yeah. Whichever team gets knocked down there, I think Golden Guardians moving on to the next match would definitely
It would be the fourth place match.
yeah, that would definitely be very interesting.
Yeah, so which is crazy to think like, oh, Golden Guardians ended fourth in the playoffs. Like, it's pretty nutty to be honest.
Yeah.
Especially from how they looked in the middle. Uh,
Hmm.
Anything else you want to touch on before we end the podcast? Yes.
Uh, I think we're all good. We just have to wait till playoffs before we can talk about more. So yeah, I think we're done for this
Yeah.
episode.
Oddly though,
I think
we
yes.
do have playoffs are scheduled Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So
Yeah, so we're gonna have to
till
wait.
Thursday.
Yeah, and then hopefully pump out the episode as quickly as possible before the next matches
Yep,
start.
exactly. Because that's only one day. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you guys for listening to the Open Mid Leaguecast episode 10. We will see you guys next week with our discussion once again.
Thank you.